So my last presentation for you for today is about suicidal crisis. And we have been thinking what subjects would be the most like handy for you guys, and depression, suicide, teenagers problems. We thought that this is something that is current issue, plus domestic abuse. But I think that about abuse, we will organize another meeting that will also include women against rape. So we will have more local specialists as well. So today that will be something that I want to still cover with you. So what I'm going to talk about is it will be a lot of understanding. So I will help you to understand people in suicidal crisis, how we can recognize that someone is in crisis and there might be suicidal crisis behind it, because the symptoms of crisis in depression, in anxiety, in abuse might look pretty same, but there are additional behaviors that people in suicidal crisis show, and how to approach person that we assume that they may have this crisis, or they started to even talk about it. So how to lead conversations that are life-saving, and when there's really a line that you should not cross, which means that you have to really push this person in suicidal crisis to look for professional support. So a few things to explain in advance: vocabulary. There are different terms that we are using in the context of suicidal crisis, and there will be a self-harm. Basically, self-harm is not always suicidal behavior. It can start in kids, in teenagers, and it may have this goal of releasing the pain, psychological pain, because when people use self-harm, like cutting themselves or firing the skin or scratching themselves to bleeding, it releases natural morphine, endorphins in the brain. So actually it gives a lot of a bit of relief. And on the other hand, when people have crawling pain, like psychological pain, and they don't know what is happening with them, sometimes causing harm just gives the brain the real reason. Yeah, it's not real, but like, okay, I'm in pain because of that scar I made, that cut I made on my skin. But majority of self-harm it's not suicidal behaviors. Even in teams, if Kuba will stay with us, maybe he will add something at the end. Then suicide is a deliberate act of taking one's own life. When I say deliberate, it's also what Kuba mentioned a few minutes before, that in majority of adults, suicidal crisis develops in months or even longer. So they do consider a lot. And then there is a last trigger, or a moment when they finally decide to kill themselves. So in that way, it's deliberate. But the days before and the day when they try to kill themselves is not that deliberate, because actually they have narrowed vision. Yeah, but suicide in adults usually is a long-term decision process. Then people have ideation, which means that they visualize how is not to be alive. And again, it's far from taking their own life. So still, when they have ideations, we can do a lot for them. And then people have suicidal behaviors, like driving too fast, like sometimes they do a probe, like they take drugs to like poison themselves, and they check, oh, maybe it will work, but oh, it didn't work. Yeah, but then they either think, yeah, I should have done it, I should have taken more pills, or they said that was silly, actually. Yeah, that's good that no one have seen me in that state. Or they are going to the very tall buildings, which you don't have here in Botswana, and they are just looking at the edge to see how it would be to jump. Am I really afraid? Yeah. Am I in panic, or I imagine myself like flying and dying? Yeah, and this is suicidal behavior. Yeah, alcohol addiction is suicidal behavior as well, because many times we say that it's a type of suicide, that it's a it's prolonged. Yeah, so you kill yourself not suddenly, but in the long run. And then we have suicide attempt, which means that someone is trying to take his life. We used to say in English and in Polish is the same, that someone committed suicide, because before, now it's also a little bit stigmatized, but before, because of also of religion, we are Catholic country, suicide was a sin. And it was so much against the value of the system that we were saying commit like it was a crime. Yeah, but nowadays we do not stigmatize people. It's better to say that someone died by suicide or there was a suicide attempt, instead of saying committing. Yeah? But it's really hard to change language, and sometimes even I'm struggling. So what are the risk factors for actually attempting suicide? Is access to the lethal means. So in occupations where they do have access to guns, so in tourism here, or to drugs like doctors or vets, there is a very high suicidal rate among veterinary occupations, actually, or police or army or firefighters, because they know what techniques people are using to kill themselves, so they have a knowledge how to do it more in commas efficiently. So if you have access to any tool that can kill you, it will actually rise the risk. Yeah? Then chronic stress, like abuse, being bullied, intimidation. It can be psychological. It can be physical. Problems in relationships, especially if someone is very dependent emotionally or financially, and it's left alone, and then there's like, I can't live without this person. Unemployment, especially, it's a huge trigger for men, because again, in traditional cultures, being a provider is a main description of being a man. Or maybe they leave families and they don't care, yeah. But unemployment itself is a suicidal risk. Also events, but again, if someone has a difficult event like divorce, like car accident, traumatic death in the family, financial crisis, most of people will deal with it, because most of people are resilient or have social support. But if people don't have resources, like mental resources, like ability to cope with your own emotions, or be creative in problem solving, and etc., or being very pessimistic person, that's the situation when the stressful life event can actually lead to suicidal crisis. And also what higher the risk is exposure to another person's suicide. So we can wonder if those statistics among teenagers in Botswana are not related to modeling behavior. Like in teenagers, self-harm is very, very common. And usually only 30% of those kids are self-harming because they have a psychological need to relieve the pain, or to cope with anxiety, or to cope with rejection. Cope, it's in commas, obviously, yeah, but this is the way they are choosing. The rest of the kids are only followers. So the question, if there is always a risk, higher risk, that if I know anyone who attempted to kill themselves, it will inspire me. It will trigger, oh, so actually people can do that. They can disappear by suicide. And it can be sort of role modeling for people. And being discriminated, which might be related to economical discrimination, or bullying at school, or other factors in society, which actually I don't find them so much present here. You are pretty tolerant, whatever you mean about it. This is my experience. So when it comes to other factors that are more psychological, most of people who are attempting to kill themselves, they either have a history of mental illnesses, or if they were saved, and there is additional screening and diagnose, it's discovered that they have mental issues. Most common would be bipolar disorder, actually. People with bipolar disorder, which is depression mania states or whatever pattern, but this is bipolar disorder. They are at highest risk of trying to kill themselves. Then there's depression. Then there are psychotic issues like schizophrenia, alcohol addiction itself, but also alcohol addiction adds to other mental issues. So, depression plus alcohol and being fired from job, that's like you have 90% of chances that someone will try to kill themselves. Also, personality disorders and also traits that are related with agitation, anger, outbursts, mood swings, not controlling your behaviors, because that impacts relationships. So people are constantly in crisis and constantly losing someone, rejection. And because of this drive, because when people have aggression, it's a drive. Yeah, you are more energized. So it's much more risk that you will turn that anger against you than in depressed people who are, yes, they do have suicidal ideation, but sometimes they don't have energy to kill themselves. Yeah, which is a actually saving factor. Other addictions. One of the addictions that is surely highly related with suicide risk would be gambling. Gamblers, when they start to have debts, and it may be very huge number, and they think that this is the only option to get rid of that problem, and maybe if I will get rid of my life, my family will not face problems with my debts. So this is the unsolvable problem for them sometimes. And anxiety disorders, but basically mental issues and physical issues. If someone is going through illness that is related to huge pain and they don't have proper treatment and they know that they will live all their life in pain, that's the very common thought that maybe it's better to end it. And there are countries in Europe that actually allow people with physical health problems with huge pain to decide about legal suicide. So there are special clinics, I guess, in 2 countries now, in Holland and in Switzerland, that people actually are going them to attempt suicide under the eye of doctors. And it's not very legal, but at the end they do it by themselves. Yeah, so it's not someone injecting something, but they got the poison and officially next to the doctor with family members, they do it. We don't have a big discussion about it, but and I'm happy that we don't actually. But yeah, some people do it like that. You need to also afford that. So I'm happy that it's expensive, so not so many people are using that option. So the past factors as well impact the risk of suicide, which would be previous attempts of that person. So if someone was trying to kill themselves once, I'm not saying that there's a huge risk that they will next time, but there is a risk if they are not properly treated. And when someone was having a trial probe of killing themselves and they don't get treatment or any access to professional screening and diagnose and intervention, the risk that they will try to kill themselves in next 5-7 days is 80%. Sometimes people got so much attention and help and support from family, from friends, from community after the attempt, that they say, my goodness, I didn't know that so many people are really caring about me, and that can save them. But if there is a punishment, like you are doing so much shame to our family, you should get out from my side, what have you done? You will finish in hell. So there is a lot of stigmatization and punishment. That kind of response can lead to another attempt, actually. Yeah, or if we leave someone with not doing anything, that also creates the risk that in few days they will try to a very bad word, but I will tell it in provocation, succeed in killing themselves. Yeah. Again, if there's a history of suicide in the family, even if we don't talk about it, I will not dive into it. It's not spiritual, but it's systemic psychology that if there is a taboo in the family around someone's death, how they die, the next generation can actually figure it out emotionally that someone killed themselves. And so even if we don't talk, the suicide might repeat, and it can be even the same day in the year. And this is like kind of difficult to understand, but again, there's research on that. Then abuse in childhood. I was mentioning this factor in the morning on my lecture on depression, but childhood abuse, neglect, trauma, physical trauma, being beaten, being sexually abused leads to PTSD and depression, and you have a very dangerous mixture then if someone is not treated from that. So now you can see the link between what we were trying to highlight here, that kids need to be protected. Kids need to be a focus of your all strategies in that country. Kids needs to be on the first place to protect this drama and depression, suicide rates, and addictions in the future in Botswana. And also we have this factor that is called cross-generational, intergenerational trauma. So I mean that the trauma from the past that happened in the family, like sexual abuse, can impact next generation, and whether we want or not, it can expose next generation to sexual trauma as well. So in families, when someone grew up as a sort of victim role, is victimized to extent that he will have relationship with another predator. Yeah, so we look for similar people to our abusers, and then the trauma repeats. Yeah, so if you don't stop it in your family by going through psychotherapy and working over trauma, actually you will pass some sort of trauma to next generation. I think it's an interesting thing for another lecture. So when we look at people who are attempting to kill themselves, actually what we say in my field is that they find suicide a solution to a problem. So it's a strategy to escape. And I know that it's hard to think that way because we can have our judgments and values and, think bad things about people who try to attempt suicide. But you need to understand that there's a person in crisis that doesn't have any hope anymore and doesn't see any entry, any escape route from the situation they are in. And they have narrowed vision and they think suicide is a way to escape. So in this sense, suicide is a kind of a solution for people. And with time, it becomes the only solution, yeah? Because they see limited escape routes, and they feel a lot of psychological pain. That's why depression with this emptiness leads so many times to suicidal attempts, and especially in men. So we have higher rates of suicide among men than women, and extremely low self-esteem and self-worth. It means that people who are trying to kill themselves, they don't believe that anyone would be interested, that anyone would listen to what I'm going through, that I'm like no one for anyone, that I'm bad person, that I'm a burden for other people. If I die, someone will have better life, maybe. I will not be a problem for a family anymore. So that's a huge drop in self-worth and self-esteem. A very stiff thinking. Like I said, it's like a tuner vision that the suicide would be the only choice in that situation. No flexibility, no creativity. They don't see any other option to escape from, I don't know, debt or illness, or after breakup, that they don't see any hope that they will be loved by anyone in the future, and they also don't see hope for the future. So there might be a link between the suicide rates in Botswana and lack of hope Also related to culture, like this lack of long-term planning. Yeah. And it's like learned helplessness. Yeah, we have short planning in our country, in our family. We don't plan very far. We don't know what will happen. And then when you have depression and suicidal thoughts, and you don't know what it's after those 3 months or 6 months, and you think, what's the point of being here? Yeah. So I don't have a meaning. I don't want to use the word sense. I don't see the meaning of being here. Yeah, there's no hope. It will never get better. Um, so I'm always very happy when I see there's like so many people are voting in this country, because if they are active in politicians, it means that they want some change. They still have some hope. But a person with suicide doesn't have hope. And impulsive behaviors and impulsive attempts are mostly among kids. So as I said, adults do not usually kill themselves like as an impulse, although they need to support themselves with alcohol to disinhibit their behaviors. Yeah, not to have that sort of don't do it thoughts or guilt. So they need alcohol to encourage themselves to kill themselves, because this is like weird, isn't it? Yeah, if you think about that someone is taking any tool to finish their own life. Yeah, that's we have this craving for life. We have those automatic impulses to save ourselves. Yeah, if you feel hot, you take your hand. Yeah, if even if you look at animals, and when they are hunted, yeah, they are broken. They don't have a leg. They don't have a part of the body, but they still trying to escape and move till they are in such shock and pain that they are just they just give up. Yeah, so even animals have this like final motivation to survive, and humans have the same. So imagine someone who is at the end trying to kill themselves, how much they have to hate themselves or hate life that they take to kill themselves. It's unimaginable. Yeah. So there's a lot of suffering. What protects people from killing themselves? And guys, I know that I repeat killing so often, and it might sound harsh, but actually naming suicide that way protects people from taking their own lives. Because when you say suicide or risky behaviors, you soften the language. People like can sneak around. Yeah, they will not tell you. You don't understand fully what they mean. And then when you talk with someone and you use the word kill, they are like, what the heck? Yeah, well, that sounds harsh. Yeah, I don't like my life, but to kill myself. So actually, that's why I'm repeating that word so often. So what protects people from using that method of solving problems is self-awareness. Because self-awareness, knowing who I am, knowing what I like, knowing my value system, liking myself. So this is what you need to do with your teenagers to protect them from suicidal behaviors, to rise their self-esteem, so they will feel I'm a fine person, I'm a nice person, people like me, I will get some help, I have my friends, and I'm cherished by my family. You know, if someone has this self-protective self-talk, it will be really hard for them to start thinking about killing themselves. Yeah. And if people have some knowledge about mental health, how to sustain your mental health by eating habits, sleeping habits, having basic needs fulfilled. Yeah, so I know what is good for me. I know where not to cross my lines. That's it's self-protection as well. Social contacts with non-toxic people, with people who actually makes you feel better. Access to mental health care. There's like a curtain of silence here, because in Botswana you don't have many specialists. Yeah, and it's really hard actually. I mean, you can go somewhere, but it's so limited places in Botswana that when you can get mental care. Then sense of belonging. If people feel that I have my tribe, I have, but in the not only in that tribal meaning, like you use it in Botswana. When we say tribal, in my country, it's like I have people with my vibes. I have people who like me. I have people with whom I can chat and gossip and puke out my emotions, and that's my tribe. Yeah, and we are similar in values, and like me and Kuba, for example. Yeah, he's my tribe. So if we feel we have social support, we belong somewhere, my family respects me and they do care about my well-being, they are checking on me, even if we live far away, they text me time to time to see how I'm doing, and they are updated. So I feel like I'm surrounded by people who are actually interested if I'm alive, kicking, breathing, and I think, okay, there is someone who thinks about me. Then problem solving skills, which means when I have a problem, when I cool down, when I regulate my emotions, when I stop being very scared and horrified by the situation, I sit down and I think, what happened? What do we know? What are the facts? What resources do we have? How we can use those resources, that I can prioritize. If I don't know what to do, I will ask some life-wise people or advisors or mentors or even specialists. So this is problem-solving skill. Yeah, like, not that there's nothing to be done and helplessness, and okay, let's see what the life will bring, and this is helplessness, but proactive behavior to solve the problems. So again, you see that if you are raised in the family when people think, what can we do? What can we do? Yeah, there's no electricity. I will tell you my example. I'm here for a long time, and sometimes I'm not talking about those last issues with electricity, but last year it was like during the rainy season, there was like, the electricity was not there every day. And I was thinking, okay, why we don't have electricity? Oh, because of elephants. Really? I don't think so. But no one was calling Botswana Power, whatever you call them, BPC, yeah. And I called them, and they didn't have any information from any local neighbor about it, because, oh, there's no electricity, so let's wait. Maybe one day they will turn it on again. That's helplessness a bit. Yeah, so proactivity means that there's a problem and I'm checking what happened, how can I fix it. Yeah, not just let's see what country will do for me. Yeah, let's see, maybe one day someone will come and fix it. Yeah, so this is a part of resilience and proactivity. And when you raise your kids like this, when you think like this and you have a problem, you are proactive, not like narrowing your option to the last one final. Yeah. Also, norms that discourage suicide. So people who actually have some religion in which suicide is considered a sin, it can help for some time, because again, when people have long-term suicidal crisis, at the end they don't care about religion and other people and etc. But also there might be a social role, yeah, that, for example, in our tribe, in our family, we cherish life so much and we cherish each other so much that it would be like offensive if someone wants to kill themselves, like in our family, we don't do it. Yeah, so we can also create this kind of a value in family that will be protective, that, I'm not killing myself because family will be very angry at me and they will not visit my grave, they will not come to funeral. So that can be protective factor. And meaning, sometimes meaning would be, I'm very necessary for my people, for my family. I'm needed, my community needs me. And even being curious, like you can have the curiosity as a top value in your life. Yeah, like you like to explore, learn new things, being inspired by other people and meeting people. Like sometimes I meet the guides on safaris that are actually asking a lot of questions. Yeah, and you see that they are feeding their brain with knowledge about my country and etc. So that might be a value. Yeah, like I'm curious, I like to learn. And if you imagine yourself that you will die, you think, oh my goodness, there are so many things I will not learn. So even curiosity can actually protect you from having suicidal ideation. Okay. So what is changing in people who are in suicidal crisis? So sometimes they will talk things, and I will mention what they may talk, but something will change in their behavior. they neglect themselves, they withdraw from social life, they start to drink more as usually. Sometimes if your family has access to a computer, you can find in a history in a browser that they are looking for methods to kill themselves. Yeah. Then they withdraw from activities they liked. Like I was mentioning, that this is also a symptom in depression, that you don't have any joy from what before was joyful for you. But this time, you may think, oh, it's depression, but always ask, yeah, if there's not, this is drop mood, what is happening? Do consider, or are you thinking about killing yourself? Isolating from friends and family. Again, sometimes when we are in chronic stress, or we have financial issues, or we have an argument in our family and we are in low mood and we say, oh, I don't have any energy to meet with people. Yeah. But if someone approaches person who that is isolating, you say, what is going on? Oh, yeah, I know I have current problems. And is it something serious? What is going on with you? And how do you feel about it? So it's good to ask and do a little research what is behind social withdrawal. But also some people will have oversleeping, especially teenagers, which is normal for them, by the way. Kuba, I haven't mentioned, but teenagers should sleep like almost 12 hours per day, like toddlers. But when adult sleeps like this, there will be a crisis behind it. So when you have an adult at home who is sleeping during the day and goes to bed very early and they disappear, it's also escape. When you sleep, you shut down your brain. Or when someone is too agitated and they cannot sleep, and everyone is sleeping and someone is cleaning the house or making noises, and you see that, okay, this is like 2-3 hours per night, and this, what is going on with that person? Maybe they have another issue, like ADHD or psychosis, but it might be also this kind of crisis. Then what is typical, but it not always happens, is that people are saying something that is like a goodbye. And it might sound like, I really appreciate what you have done for me all those years. I really cherish you as a friend. You were, they talk in the past, you were a very fine friend for me. Yeah, I appreciate our past, and you sense that this is like a goodbye. I can tell you a funny story, because when I do my trainings in resilience, we have this exercise that people are supposed to think about their social needs, like being inspired, being playful, having emotional support, material support. So why do I need people in my life? And then they make a list of that, and then they have to put the names of the people that are actually giving them that. And if there's one person that fills all the boxes or most of the boxes, I ask them to send a gratefulness message, yeah, during the training. So I said, text them that you appreciate the friendship and that they mean a lot to you. And then we wait for responses. And I can tell you, 80% of people are asking, are you okay? Because that sounds final, yeah? Everything okay with you? What happened? Why are you sending me this message? So it's a good gut feeling, actually. When someone behaves like this, it's better to check on them. Or when people are having things like valuable things, or clothes, or jewelry, or like bibelots, like things that they brought from somewhere, or gifts, and they give it away. Like, you like it, take it. Yeah. Oh, you've mentioned you like that, so I can give it to you. Yeah. And suddenly they give away possessions, and we may say, oh, why this person is getting rid of something? It's better to ask. Maybe they move to another country and they have to, do that. But why they do it? Why you give up your favorite things? Aggression, risky behavior, cynicism, yelling. So those crisis typical behaviors, and constant tiredness. And actually complaining about it as well would be something that I would ask about, at least. Yeah. So what happens with mood? People would feel depressed, low mood, withdrawing, sometimes anxiety, but you don't see it. Or maybe you can see that someone is agitated, but people sometimes hide anxiety, overthinking, and catastrophizing. loss of interest in whatever they liked before. They got triggered more easily. But also, if there's a situation that is a kind of humiliation for people or leading to shame, when someone was publicly accused for something, or there was intimate information released, especially what teenagers shaming is something that can lead to impulsive suicide. If someone broke the law and is excluded by community because of that, or someone didn't want, but the information about abuse was released, so they feel ashamed, that also can trigger suicidal behaviors. And what is interesting, when people have depression, that takes away all the energy, so they just like, I'm done. I just sit or lay, and I can't. I'm unable to do anything. That's actually protective factor. The worst is that if they have depression and self-esteem is on the level of 0 or even less, and something happens in their life and they are angry and agitated, because anger and agitation actually it gives energy, physical energy, to attempt. And also, when you see people who were for a long time in very bad place, and they were having depression, and maybe everyone knew it, or people were withdrawn, and suddenly they like improved, and everyone says, yeah, great, this person looks better, it's, present and talking and active. Be careful with that, because suicide ideation develops with time. And when there's a phase, I will explain that in a moment, when people actually are in dilemma zone, should I do it or not? It's so exhausting mentally for people, that when they decide at the end, okay, I'll do it, the brain is like relieved, and then they have better mood. And I knew some cases of people who killed themselves after this short period of feeling better, because, okay, I know what I'm gonna do. So now I actually, I don't care. I can have a good time, because I know that on this specific day, I will hang myself. Yeah. So if you have people in a low mood, in depression, but suddenly they improve, that's a warning signal as well, which now which will make you paranoid. Whatever people are showing, you will better ask them if they're okay. But don't changes. Okay, change in behavior, that's always indicator of something that is going on. Then what people talk, sometimes they say things like, I'm fed up with my life. I want to disappear. I wish to fall asleep and never wake up. Maybe killing yourself is not a bad idea. So they mention that. Or they say, everything is so hopeless. I can't change anything. It will never change. So they are in that point when, that when you have hopelessness thoughts, your body is producing less energy. So hopelessness leads to being more stagnant, passive. So when people talk like this, they actually don't have energy to solve problems. Then saying that I have no reasons to be here, to be alive, no one cares about me, that I'm a heavy load for my family, that I only create problems. You can sometimes mention that to your kids. And that's a big problem, yeah. When parents are saying you are always a problem, yeah. And if I haven't, my life would be much better, yeah. You always do a shame to our family. Those are sentences that can actually undermine someone's worth, and it can be not a trigger, but that's a factor that leads to suicide thoughts and maybe behaviors one day. Or when someone feels like I don't see the way out from my situation, and they feel like trapped, but they feel that it will not be changed. Yeah, because when, again, what is protective factor for people in crisis, when they think that it will change one day, it will be better. Yeah, one day it always gets better. So that kind of thoughts are protective. But if you feel I'm in a bad place and I see no hope that it will change, and actually when you are born in a bad place, you will stay in a bad place. So those stagnant thoughts will be an indicator. Or when people are saying that they are suffering, that they can't control suffering, that they are in pain, and they repeat that. So those first thoughts that people are mentioning, now let me just go here. The first thoughts that people are mentioning, it's like, I don't like my life as it looks like now. And we call them resignational thoughts. I wish to fall asleep. I envy people who are already dead. You know, it's good to be on the other side. I don't like how I'm living now. So it's still like, we don't find it very risky because there's no suicide mentioned. Yeah. But those are first actually thoughts, oh, life I'm having is not good for me. Then we have this ideation, and there are different phases when people actually start to think that it would be better not to be alive, but they still don't think suicide, killing myself. It's like not being alive, not being here, being on the other side, that the death is relief. So in their mind, those thoughts start to, spin, and then those thoughts turn into thinking about suicide. So ideation, this core ideation would be that they think, yeah, killing myself would be an option. Those people who kill themselves, they are relieved from problems. That actually taking my own life would be the best solution. Maybe, but those thoughts at the beginning are intrusive. Intrusive, I mean that people don't like them actually. When you have your like kids' life and you do things and suddenly those thoughts are growing and you think, maybe I will kill myself. And it's really, really, who is whispering that thought to me? So at the beginning, people treat those thoughts a little bit like, am I really saying this? Am I really thinking like this? But because those are like obsessive thoughts, they start to be like inherited, like intrinsic, like your inner thoughts. And you start to think, yeah, actually, yes. And from that point, again, nothing may happen. They may stop with that and may say, okay, I will remember that one day I wanted to kill myself. I was considering this, and I can come back. I can always come back to this. So many people will come to that point and they will do nothing. Actually, majority of people with suicidal thoughts, they do nothing. They just consider, because many people have suicidal thoughts. And if it was like this, we would diminish from the planet. Yeah. And then what starts to happen is people start to consider the ways to kill themselves. So how I can do it. Yeah. And the more choices you have, the worse. But people start to consider how it is. Let's Google. Yeah. Now the internet actually opens the Pandora box for people who are looking for the tools, because there are special websites. There are chats for people who have good advice how to do it. So it's sometimes it's dangerous. That we have access to such knowledge as well, together with a lot of very valuable information in internet. But then people start to plan, okay, I will hang myself, or I will shot myself because I have an access to gun. So when I was working with paramedics, those who killed themselves, they were using drugs actually. And people who have guns at home, they kill themselves using guns, so etc., etc. And then people choose the method, and they start to imagine when and how, and that no one should be home. And from planning, they can jump into attempt, but sometimes there are tendencies, which are behaviors. Yeah, so they start to behave in a risky way, as I mentioned before, like living on the edge, driving. Many people think like, okay, when I drive and I have an accident, I would be done. Or let's look on the road, let's look if there are any trees that I can actually hit. Yeah. Or they are looking at the trees and which tree would be good to hang myself. So those behaviors are already like tendencies. Yeah. Or they visit the place they want to kill themselves. And then there is attempt. And from resignation thoughts to attempt, it's usually a year. From resignation to first trial or tendencies, or just like buying a rope, would be sometimes 6 months. Yeah. So it's a kind of a solid time, a lot of time before someone really want to do it. And majority of people will mention something before, because it's really difficult to kill yourself and you don't want to do it usually. Those people who are determined to take their life, this is 5% of all people who have suicidal thoughts. The rest will mention something, will change behavior in visible ways. So they start talking about that, like, I want to kill myself. And what do they hear? They hear, oh, don't do it. What you talking about? It's a sin. You have kids. Oh, your life, it's not so bad to kill yourself. And instead of listening to them, we start to push them not to do it. So they say, okay, I shut up. I will not tell anyone. Yeah. But those people who want to kill themselves, they will do it. Even if they are rescued, they will try again and again. So there is like 5% of people with suicidal crisis that it's almost impossible to rescue. Okay. And what is the last trigger in many cases for people is, like, first, they already tried to do it, but they in comas didn't succeed. Then maybe someone is in grief and they have anniversary, and they feel, okay, I can't live with this like this. Yeah, I'm no one. My life is empty. I want to join my loved person on the other side. Traumas and losses, like losing a job, financial crisis, loss of apartment, so I become homeless, or I have to come back to my toxic family with abusive uncle, whatever, violence, rape. Those are triggers of suicidal thoughts. Unplanned pregnancy, which I can imagine that it might be a trigger in a lot of girls as well, or that someone feels that will be accused for some criminal acts and they will finish in jail, and this is shameful situation for community and family, and they say, okay, I will end it because it's such a shame. Harassments, rejection, being discriminated as well for many reasons, addictions we've mentioned, and being witness of a suicide, or finding someone after suicide, and then you think, oh, this person must now feel much better. So you feel like attracted to that idea. So, so what is happening just before when this trigger appears? So first, it grows. Yeah. So we have like kind of a time to maybe recognize it. Maybe someone will leak out some information that they have suicidal crisis. We should not ignore in people around us that are changing behavior, because there might be in depression or other issues that can lead to suicidal thoughts. Then when people are getting more sure that they want to kill themselves, they have narrow vision, they have like mental constriction that this is the only thing I can do actually, yeah, because there's no way out. They become pessimistic, helpless, and etc. And then because they think like this, they have like no other options on the plate, which sometimes you talk to people with suicidal thoughts. Like I was talking with my friend who wanted to kill himself after arguing with his wife. And I said, what happened? And we argue, and say, really? So you wanted to kill yourself after argument? And he looked at me and said, that's silly, actually. And when you name it like this is like silly decision, argument with the wife and looking for a tree to hang myself. And then I was asking him what is going on, and they didn't understand each other. Both of them were from alcoholic families, and both of them weren't able to talk about emotions and needs, and they thought, you will read my mind together. So reading minds of your partner is not possible. So they constantly were in this spot that I don't understand what she needs. She doesn't understand what I need, because they couldn't even name it. But at the end, we were talking, and both realized actually that they should go to psychotherapy. Both of them went on individual, then they had few sessions of couples psychotherapy. But in suicidal crisis, you don't see options. They didn't have other problems, by the way. Yeah, they both had job. They just built a house. They had like 2 kids. Then another 2 appeared, so everything ended well. But he had this feeling that no, there's no other way to stop arguing with my wife than taking my own life. And what happens also that at that point, people don't care about values. That something was important to me, that my religion, is against killing yourself. And also for many people, the reason they don't kill themselves would be family or kids, because I don't want to make trauma to them or make them feel guilty. So to some extent, people are kept alive because of that. But when they are done, like I will kill myself, they stop caring about family anymore. So how we should approach people with problems, basically, the general rules are that we need to create a safe space for them. So if you want to talk with someone, you need to find a time and predict that it will not be 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You take your friend and you plan that it will be hour or even more. Find a place that no one will disrupt you. If you have a friend whose family is nosy, abusive, and they talk rubbish, don't talk in his house. Take him outside so the family will not jump into conversation. I know it might be a cultural thing that all of us need to participate, but if you know that there might be a mess because of other people saying something unwise, it's better to take this person out. Yeah. And we create safe space always by being not judgmental. So when people talk, we are not surprised, we are not in shock. We say, "What you're saying? My goodness, this is a bad thing to say. I'm so scared. Don't tell me. How could you?" So we just judge and say, "You always create problems, and now we have so many problems, and suddenly you jump out with your suicide ideas. That's silly. Just shut up." So we will kind of punish a person for being open. Yeah. So we need to withdraw all our judgments and think, okay, that person suffers if they feel like this, and that person was determined or bold enough to share it, or even if we stigmatize suicidal behaviors. Okay. So we should have open mind and ask questions why someone feels this way. Why do you want to kill yourself? What is, from all your problems, what is the biggest problem? What is the reason that you want to take your life? And usually people have many reasons, because as I said, we say that motivation to attempt in adults is polymotivational. So there's multiply motivations to do that. But usually among those many motivators, there would be one that is kind of crucial. So it's better to ask than to jump into trying to protect the person. Don't do this, please. Just first you ask why. Because sometimes when people start talking aloud, why I'm considering suicide, and they hear that, oh, I have bad relation with my mother-in-law, I have financial issues, my husband doesn't respect me, and at work I have abusive boss, and they hear themselves and they say, why I'm surrounded by so many, abusive people. Yeah. And they look at this like at the picture. Yeah. So sometimes this is already helpful. Yeah. But then you keep those reasons in your mind, and then say, okay, you've mentioned a lot of reasons. Actually, I can imagine that your life is very hard now. So what is the biggest problem? That if you get rid of that, or if you solve that problem, because we don't want them to get rid of mother-in-law. Yeah. But if you solve the problem, you will cope better. Yeah. And they say, actually, if I have a better work, if I have more money and I can move out from a house, so be more self-efficient, and then suddenly they will have like one problem that is solved. So I don't have to use the only escape route, which is suicide. Yeah. So we listen to the reasons. And what we shouldn't do is we shouldn't convince them that they have to stay alive for many reasons. What we actually say as a specialist when someone is talking about suicidal ideation, and sometimes we say, look, I'm not gonna convince you not to do it. You are an adult. You are in control of your life. Why we say it? Because people in crisis, they don't think they have control. They feel that there is nothing more to be done, that I'm not a leader of my own life. Yeah, I'm not in charge. So when you say that, look, that depends on you. Yeah, this is your decision. You are responsible for yourself. This is whatever you will decide, that will be yours. I don't want to like convince you. Yeah, I respect that. But let's look at the reasons and let's look on what is happening with you, because we may find out something. And because we also highlight that someone is talking about it. So don't be afraid of people who talk about killing themselves, because it means that they are still in dilemma zone. So you may say, I appreciate that you are talking about it. Yeah, I feel lucky that you came to me and you actually admitted that you have those thoughts. So knowing that it lasts long, you may say, I appreciate that you are still alive here and you talk with me, because yes, they are, you may think that's a luck, they are still breathing. I talk to someone, this person is in front of me. So for now, this person is still alive and we can do something with that. Yeah. So, so knowing this, please don't be afraid of those people, okay? Because sometimes we are so scared that someone wants to commit suicide that they see that you are scared and say, oh, I'm not talking with that person because they are so scared of me that they will not actually listen. Yeah. So it's fine. They talk. And then when people are saying that, they have many reasons to kill themselves, we look for the biggest reason, then it's named, then we can jump into problem solving with them as well. But we should also say, okay, so you have so many reasons that you've mentioned that like for you, they are heavy, but is there anything that keeps you here? That actually, when you were analyzing situation, that was the reason that you are still alive. And they usually mention something. Oh, I'm taking care about my mom, and if I die, no one will take care about her, so she will die soon. Sometimes in my culture, people say, especially older people who are very alone, they say, oh, I have a dog, and what is, my dog will be in a shelter. I don't want to do it. We are very attached to our dogs, and in Poland there is 40 million people, and in every second household we have a dog. So we are really dog lovers, or cats. Yeah? So actually that's the kind of an anchor for people to be alive, or kids, or I still have this project at work that I have to finish. I don't want to disappoint my team. So usually there is something that keeps them, or I would feel guilty. I don't want to traumatize someone. Yeah. A woman may say, I don't know how will I look when they will find me dead. If I look ugly, that will be the last picture of me that someone will see. I'm afraid of that. And so that's good. And actually, what do? We tune it up. Yeah, your kids will be traumatized. It's really hard for family to move on from something like this. It's good you still want to protect your kids from that kind of trauma. So we just like exaggerate that. Yeah, or even if it's that dog. Yeah, and they say, oh, my dog. Yeah, poor doggy. Really, it can have really bad owners after that. Yes. Squeeze it. Yeah. Or someone says, I'm afraid that I will go to hell after that, and you say, oh, you believe strongly that the in afterlife you will have that. Yeah. So how you imagine hell? Yeah. And you escalate that again. Yeah. And they say, oh, I don't want to even imagine that. I don't want to be there. So when you kill yourself, you go there. Yeah, that's why I'm not doing this. So they start to defend themselves when you start doing this. Yeah. So that what will keep them alive for a few days more, or a few weeks more, and your goal would be to actually bring them to some specialists. So when we approach them, we say, I've noticed that you are different than other. I'm concerned about your behaviors. I'm worried. You can use the word worried, but it doesn't sound well. With teenagers, don't use that. I'm worried about you means I don't trust you. So it's that I don't trust your skills that you can actually take a good decision. So don't be worried about your teenagers. You may say, I'm thinking about you. Yeah, I'm wondering, I'm concerned. What is happening? What is behind? Why your behavior has changed in that direction? I will listen. Just tell me what is on your plate. And when people don't mention suicide, actually, sometimes it's good to answer that. Have you been considering killing yourself? And they might be surprised, but those who were, they will be relieved that you ask this question. Say, yeah, actually, I am. Yeah. So what kind of thoughts do you have? So at that point, we can check, oh, I'm just thinking that maybe it would be easier. Maybe I would feel better. Maybe it will be like end of all my problems. So then we ask, do you know how? Asking people those questions will not increase the suicide risk. Actually, it lowers suicide risk, because they think you treat them seriously, you are not afraid, you actually already know that they have suicidal thoughts, and they will not want you to feel guilty. So many people I was talking with, my friends who were thinking about suicide, and I have this kind of a gut feeling in many cases, even if they don't say it. And I ask about it, and they said, Gosha, now knowing that I can't kill myself because you will suffer. And I say, yeah, I will. Yeah. So that's actually very protective to go into details. Yeah. So you ask, do you know how you want to kill yourself? And many people will don't know. They say, no, I'm just considering. That's good. They are only in this, thinking zone, when they are still not planning. And that's the moment that, again, it's good to send them to a specialist. But then if they say, yeah, I know, I actually, my mom is mentally ill and I'm stealing her pills, and I'm reading in internet about, what I can mix. Or, yeah, I was thinking about this and that. Oh, that's the moment that you actually have to say, you know what, that looks very serious. I'm very scared that you are thinking about it, and that you are that advanced, that you went so far with thinking about killing yourself. And I think that's the moment that you have to go with me to the doctor. And that's the moment you go to mental institution with that person. And if they resist, I don't know, maybe you will share if you have that service in Botswana. In my country, we just call ambulance and we say that person just said that they want to kill themselves, and they know how. They mention that they want to hang themselves, and that makes the paramedics think that it's a serious situation, and they have a duty to take the person to be screened by the psychiatrist. So at that point, it's just emergency for you. Yeah. You can call the rest of the family, because there's no secrecy now. When someone started, don't tell anyone, but at the end, you know that this person is at risk of losing life. There's no secrets anymore. Yeah. So you say, look, I can't leave you like this. Yeah. Either you go alone with me to the doctor, or I will call half of your family and we will go with you. Yeah. So you have to actually shake that person and motivate them to go to the doctor immediately. Okay. So if they know how to kill themselves, that's the emergency situation. So as additional questions you can use so you can use the questions about what makes you feeling that you don't like your life anymore. What are other things? So we gather as many factors as we can. We can ask, do you feel like you are a problem to other people, or can you explain why you feel like this? Because when someone is burdened, maybe there's no visible signs or behaviors on behalf of close ones or family, but someone is neglected, or family is not listening, which is very common. Yeah. Actually, especially when everyone is in survival mode, fighting with economical crisis and finances and etc. Yeah? I know that in Mount people have a lot of debts, and that's why it's also such a high rate of depression and drug addiction as well. So those are additional questions. Maybe I will look at the clock, because I know I like to talk a lot, and maybe we don't have, we have some time. So when we talk about when we come to that point that someone tells you that, yeah, I want to kill myself, I know how, you can also ask, look, have you, if I were you, I would consider going to specialists. Have you been considering talking to a counselor or psychologist or psychiatrist? Maybe they were already. So you will say, great, it's good that you were thinking about it, because what it means that they actually have been thinking about how to help themselves, how to stop my suicidal thoughts. Yeah, so it's good that they were thinking about it. And you say, and then what have stopped you? Why haven't you gone there? Oh, I'm ashamed. So we say, is it better to go there, or is it better to die? So you can say you go there, you are alive. You don't go there, you may enhance your suicidal thoughts. They may even smile at that point, yeah. Or you may say, okay, so what could happen to you so you are more motivated to go there, yeah. What's the burden on what would have to change? Maybe it's about money. So you say, look, maybe we will find someone who will help you for little money or no money, free support. There are NGOs, organizations that can support you. Yeah, so you can actually have some options. If you go to mental hospital, you have a free of charge support, especially for people in crisis. Caroline, you will add something more probably about it. So then you can actually see that, okay, this person would do it, but they need a company. They need someone who will push them in direction of looking for professional support. But if we have a situation that someone knows how to kill themselves, as I said, no mercy, you take them to psychological support. And if you find out someone after attempt, yeah, because it might be unsuccessful, and happily for the person, but you find someone, sleeping in bed with the vomits next to them with pills, yeah, or you come home and you see someone bleeding, or you see someone trying to hang themselves. That's the moment that people always should be seen by psychiatrists, always. Even if they say, no, no, don't do a fuss about it, around it, don't tell anyone. I don't care now. You were trying to kill yourself, and my duty is to do something. You will not do it once again. And I don't care about your privacy, whether you will be angry at me or I lose a friend. Now my duty is to save your life. So whatever you're saying, I will do what is my duty. Yeah. So at the end, those people who are safe, they are grateful. Or if they are not grateful, they will try again till they will end that. Yeah. So there will be this group of people who are highly determined. So if you lose a friendship with someone like this, anyhow, they have this huge determination to die. Yeah. But if they don't have determination to die, and you do the mess and you call the, half of the family, and they will say, oh my goodness, what just happened? At the end, they will be saved. Yeah. And actually they didn't want to kill themselves. So we say, okay, I'm lucky that I helped someone. Yeah, the cost might be this person don't trust me in the future, or they will come and say, you know what, actually you did save my life. So as I said, no secrecy in at that point. So I was mentioning this, and sometimes when people are going through long mental health issues and they don't spend that time in mental institution, yeah, one day they are released with some medications, or they go through psychotherapy and they still have suicidal thoughts. It might happen like this, yeah. So people, because it takes time, yeah, it's not like impulsive. But so we know that someone from our family or friends has thoughts like this. We can check on them. And actually, I'm annoying to some of my friends who are having depression, because it was like, how are you doing? Okay, how is life? How is your mood? How are your suicidal thoughts? And I say, oh, come on, stop asking about it. And I say, no, I'm asking because sometimes you feel good and suddenly something happens, and I need to know. Yeah. So are you thinking about killing yourself? How often? And they say, oh gosh, God, stop it. Yeah. But at least we can joke about it. And it means that they know that I'm watchful. Yeah. So it can help them. But then also people who are suicidal crisis, and they have those intrusive thoughts, and they lack emotional control, and they're afraid that, yeah, one day I can be so low that I will actually go to kitchen, find a knife. And then we create emergency plan for them. Okay, so when you are in such a bad mess, what you can immediately do to stop your suicidal behavior. So there's an emergency plan, like I go out from home, I immediately call my best friend, I go to neighbors, I start doing some other things to just kind of stop thinking about suicide. Yeah, so there is an emergency plan, or I have a number to my doctor or psychologist, and if my suicidal thoughts are more enhanced, more harshful, I start to imagine things, imagine how I'm doing this, and I know that that's the line I shouldn't cross. I just know that I have to find someone who will immediately help me. Yeah, and for sure, people with suicidal thoughts, they shouldn't drink alcohol because that can inhibit control. So there are less self-controlling, and that can lead to impulsive suicide. They should not take any drugs. And also avoid huge stressors in life. Yeah. So when we have people with mental issues around us, especially in the family, they should be for some time under kind of special protection. Yeah, because when we flood them with stressors and triggers, obviously it will not help. Okay. So that was, I think, a lot that I shared with you.